So what does the addition of J.D. Vance at the top of the Republican ticket to join Donald Trump as his running mate, potentially the next vice president of the United States, what does that mean, particularly his India connection? I'm now joined by Mr. Shalabh Kumar. He's an American industrialist, of course, the person who came up with the slogan Ab Ki Baar Trump Sarkar, and the founder of the Republican Hindu Coalition for Trump. But let me start, first of all, before we come to the Vance question, Mr. Kumar, I want to ask you about what happened on Saturday, the assassination attempt on the former president. Where were you when you first got news that there was this hit on Donald Trump, and then when you saw the images of him standing up, bloodstains on his face, rising his fist up in the air and chanting to his supporters to fight? What was going through your mind when you saw those images first?
Well, it was kind of hard to believe what we were seeing on television. I was watching the rally on Fox News. I was in Chicago, and just watching the rally, and all of a sudden this thing happens. It was kind of surreal. It's like what the heck it is. But within 30 seconds, Man of Steel got up and it says, "Fight on, fight on, fight on." Initially, it was difficult to believe. Maybe it was some firecrackers. A lot of people thought, or some kind of a joke, or something happened. But when he got up with blood coming out of his ears, right ear, that this was an assassination attempt. So, but right after he got up, and he asked for his shoes, so it became pretty apparent that you could tell from his voice that he was just fine. And of course, then when he says fight on, and then raises his fist, and he did that several times. So
why do you think, politically speaking, this might be potentially a game-changing moment in this election, in this race?
Well, two things. One is, Americans, we generally have a short memory for people who are not really tuned into political dialogue all the time. So they will contrast this moment with how President Biden looked like at the debate. So just compare the contrast. The contrast is just unbelievable. It's a very energetic 78-year-old and versus an 81-year-old who doesn't know where he's at, and he's just kind of seems dumbfounded. And here, he doesn't look like a 78-year-old. He looks like somebody in his early 60s or something, with that much energy and that much fight in him. And the contrast couldn't be bigger.
I do want to ask you about now J.D. Vance and his candidature as the running mate for Donald Trump. What does this mean? What would you attribute the ticket, the Trump-Vance ticket? What is it that tipped the vice presidential sort of ticket in favor of J.D. Vance? What does he stand for? There are a lot of people who are saying that he's perhaps even further right in the political lexicon, even further right of Trump on issues like immigration and abortion, etc.
I don't think so. I think media likes to lay out put up certain titles to him. I think he is a conservative, a modern conservative, a young conservative, 39 years old. That played a significant role in his favor. Second, he is from neighboring states to Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania, and that's a battleground state. That's where the election is going to boil down to. But right now, I have been in politics now for over 40 years. Unless the Democrats do something drastically different, the election is over.
I do want to ask you about Vance's India connection. His wife is Indian American. She's a person of Indian origin. Her parents came to America as immigrants. She, of course, studied at Yale Law. That's where she met J.D. Vance. What do we know about his India connection? And do you think this will come in good stead when, if and when, Trump becomes president and Vance becomes his vice president in the India-U.S. relationship?
Absolutely. And she's a very, very smart person and a big influence on JD and always on his side, as she has declared in many interviews, and JD has. There's right now there's quite a popular photo of the two getting married. Mm-hmm. And he is with his tilak and Indian kurta, and she's in her Indian dress, and that's just the Hindu American community and the Indian American community is very excited that it's not just second lady this time, but we'll be all looking for her to be the first lady after 2028, because they're so young. I mean, it's a phenomenal decision. We are very happy.
What does the rise of Indian Americans in American politics tell you? I mean, you have Kamala Harris, the first woman of color to be vice president. She's of, again, Indian origin. Her mother was of Indian origin. And now you have J.D. Vance, who could potentially be the next vice president. He's married to an Indian American. What does that say to you? And we have a number of Indian American congressmen and women and so on. What does that say to you about the Indian American community and their sort of rise in American politics over the last few years?
First of all, let me just kind of correct you a little bit. All these people you're talking about, they are Hindu Americans. I am a Hindu American. I mean, not every Indian is a Hindu, and not every Hindu is an Indian, because there are Hindus from all over the world besides India. So anyway, but that is just a little correction. But I've seen I came to the country when there were less than 100,000 total Hindu Americans, Indian Americans in the country, and there were stereotypes of the Indian American community, students mostly at that time, just getting out of colleges, very smart mathematically, but not too practical. Slowly it changed to managers in engineering and other professions. A lot of doctors then came in, and the overall perception kept on changing. And now then you have it has gone to the point where major heads of major Fortune 500 companies, they are Hindu Americans, Indian Americans. So that's just a natural rise, because the Hindu and Indian American community is just very smart. So that's bound to happen. And also the both political parties recognize that in the battleground states, there are, per our database, in the 6 battleground states, there's close to 1.5 million Hindu American voters that decides the elections. So every which way, I don't think the Hindu community, Indian American community, is that strong in fundraising as compared to the Jewish community. Mm-hmm. Jewish community raises more funds, but our numbers are bigger now than even the Jewish community. Jewish community set at about 62% Democrat, 38% Republican. It's been shifting, but the Hindu and Indian American community describes themselves as independents. So if there are that many independents, 1.5 million independents, and they could swing both ways. They could go Democrat, they could go Republican. So it becomes that much more important.
All right, Mr. Shalabh Kumar, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining us and putting into perspective what the candidature of J.D. Vance would mean at the top of the Trump ticket. And we'll be in touch with you between now and November when the election is going to be a hotly contested election. And as Mr. Kumar was saying, given the events that we saw on Saturday, I think Donald Trump is just 1 foot away from the presidential door and a possible second term.